Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this throw pillow here. It's made with bobble stitches. It's actually not that hard. It's pretty easy. It's got a pretty cool look to it, so it's the same on both sides. The insert that I use is 16 by 16, so that's about the approximate size. Maybe just a little bit bigger, but not much. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. That way you never miss any of my tutorials. I have hundreds of them on there. I encourage you to check them out. And that way you'll never miss any of my giveaways. I have plenty of giveaways and yarn shopping videos and yarn reviews, so it's a lot of fun. So I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. And well, let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, for this project I am using Bernat Bundle Brights. It's the yarn that has like 4 different types of yarn all in one skein. There are, let's see, 207 yards for one of these big skeins, and you're going to need 2 of them, 2 complete skeins to finish this off. And it's a super bulky 6. The color I got is called Banana Split. Now, you don't have to use this yarn to make this pillow. Any super bulky 6 will work just fine. So you could use regular Bernat baby blanket yarn, or something like that if you don't have this. But this does make it kind of a neat texture for the pillow. And then you're going to need just some type of regular color of 4-ply yarn or a 4-weight yarn that matches your pillow a little bit. This is what I'm going to use to sew it together when we're finished. It doesn't have to be this brand, just if you got any scraps or something. It just takes a little bit just to sew the pillow up when we're done. I'll be using this a color of 4-ply or 4-weight that matches my pillow. And then you're going to need a pillow insert. This one is a 16-inch square pillow insert. I got this at Walmart in the button aisle. I think it was like $2.50, maybe $3 at the most. And this is machine washable, so when you sew your cover over it, you can throw the whole thing in the washer. So you want to make sure you get one that's machine washable, so you can sew your pillow into it. But that's what you're going to need. Remember, this one's 16 by 16. And then I'm going to be using a size N, which is a 9mm crochet hook. Okay, we're going to be working with bobble stitches. So if you want to use this stitch for something else, or you want to make this pillow bigger or smaller, you just need to start with an even number of stitches. So for my size, if you're going to follow along with me, I started with the chain of 34. So once you get your chain of 34 done, we're going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And remember, we don't count this one that's on our hook. So the second stitch, go ahead and single crochet in it. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet in every single stitch for the length of the chain. Just like that. 1 single until you get to the end. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 1, you should have a total of 33 stitches now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start our bobble stitch row. So we're going to put 1 single crochet into the very first stitch, because that chain 1 that we did does not count as a stitch. So we're going to put our single crochet into the very first one. And now we're going to work our bobble into the next. So it's double crochet, 3 together bobble. So what we do is we yarn over, go into the next stitch and drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Now we want to do that a total of 3 times. So that's our first one. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. So that's 3 times. One more time, yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and you should have 4 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 4 loops, give it a little tight pull, and then we'll single crochet directly into the next stitch. And that is the bobble. It's actually worked on the opposite side. So when you flip it over to the right side, there's your bobble sticking out. So we're going to do that again. Into the next stitch, we're going to work a bobble. So we'll yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. So we want to do that 3 times. That's 1, with the first 2, that's 2, and 3. I have 4 loops that remain on my hook. Yarn over and go through all 4, give it just a little bit of a tug, and then go ahead and single crochet into your next stitch, just like that. And if you flip it around, now you got 2 bobbles. So that's the repeat for row 2. Go ahead and bobble into the next stitch. So yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and you want to do that 3 times. So that was 1, 2, just kind of pull up your yarn just a little bit, and there's 3, 4 loops that remain. Yarn over, go through all 4, give it just a little tug, and single crochet into the next stitch. And if you flip it over, now you got 3 bobbles. So it's actually pretty easy. So I'm going to continue this pattern until I get to the end of row 2. So I'm going to bobble into the next stitch, and then single into the next. Oh, just like that. Bobble into the next. Single into the next. And I'm going to repeat that until I get to the end of row 2. If I flip it over, you can see all my bobbles there. Looking pretty cool. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the end of row 2. Okay, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I did my last bobble here, and I have 1 stitch left, and I want to go ahead and single crochet in it. You can see my colors changed as I was working, and that is fine, and they'll just keep changing. So you end in a single crochet. And that'll complete row 2. And when you flip it over and look, you should have 16 bobble stitches now. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So this is actually the front of our work right here. So we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet into this very first stitch, because that chain 1 does not count as anything. And then we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch across. So our next one's going to go into the top of the bobble, so right about here. And then single crochet into this next single crochet right here. And then single crochet into the top of the next bobble. If you flip it, you can see where it needs to go right there. And then single crochet here into the next single crochet, and into the top of the next bobble right there. And into the single crochet right here. And we're just going to repeat this all the way down. It's just 1 single crochet in the top of every bobble and in every one of the single crochets in between the bobbles. So go ahead and work that until you get to the end of row 3. Okay, I've made it to the end of row 3, and you should have 33 stitches again. So now all it is a repeat of rows 2 and 3, the bobble stitch row and the single crochet row. You'll have 16 bobbles at the end of every bobble stitch row, and you'll have 33 single crochets at the end of every single crochet row. So it's just repeating rows 2 and 3. So for row 4, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to repeat my bobble stitch row. So I'm going to single crochet into the very first stitch, and then bobble into the next stitch. So it's just an easy 2-row repeat. And then you single into the next, just like that. Oh, my yarn split. Bobble into the next, and then single into the next, all the way to the end. And when I get to the end, I'll have 16 bobbles, and then I start my row, I turn my work and do my row of single crochet. So that's it. Repeat rows 2 and 3, and you want to do that until you reach a total of 29 rows. Your last row that you do will be a single crochet row. So I'm going to keep working until I get my 29 rows done, and then I'll meet back up with you when I'm finished. If you're using this yarn though, I want to give you a heads up. If you're using this right here is not the easiest to work with. It looks like homespun yarn, and it's kind of hard to see the stitches and pull them through, but you'll be able to get it. I know, once you start doing it, you'll get the hang of it. I got one piece done, and this is what it kind of looks like. So you just let your colors change, you know, wherever they change. I think it looks pretty cool. But I'm going to go ahead and get my other piece done. I'm going to continue until I get 29 rows done, and then I will meet back up with you and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, I've got my 29 rows done, starting from our very first row of single crochet, 29 rows, and remember your last row should have been a row of single crochet. Now don't tie off. What we're going to do is go around the whole piece with a row of single crochet to clean up all the edges and make it easier to sew together. So I just did my 29th row there. I didn't tie off. What I'm going to do is chain 1 now. And now I'm going to work down this side, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And it's kind of hard to tell where they need to go, but I kind of just go right in between the single crochet from, like, here's the single crochet on the end of the row, like that hole right there, like that. And just do your best to kind of evenly space out your single crochets. And you can kind of see that I'm just going in between the last row of single crochet. The last single crochet and the last bobble. That's kind of where I go. But whatever works best for you, whatever gets the job done, just to evenly space out single crochets down this row. It cleans up the edges. Also, it's going to make it easier for us to sew this piece together. Of course, I ended on this yarn that's hard to work with, the worst one. But I'm just going to continue working all the way down. Doing the best that I can here to evenly space out my single crochets. Now when I get to the end here, to this the last corner stitch, I'm going to put 3 single crochets into the corner. That's going to make the corner lay down more flat so it doesn't pop up. And now I'm going to continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch along this bottom here, and you'll be able to see where the stitches need to go pretty easy on this piece. And if you want, it'd be a good idea to hide this tail here from the beginning as you go. So this is what I'm going to do all around my piece here. I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch, or evenly space them out up the sides. But in each of the corners, I'm going to put 3 single crochets. Like that. So I'm going to continue working 1 single crochet down this side, and then I'll put 3 singles in this corner. We'll evenly space out 1 single crochet up this side, and I'll work 3 single crochets in this corner, and then I'll go across the top, and I'll end up back to where we started. Okay, I've made it all the way around, and I'm back to my starting point. Now in the last stitch here, you want to put 3 single crochets into your last stitch, because that'll be the corner. And then we're going to end in our first single crochet that we did, which is kind of right over here on the side. Not the chain one, but the first single. And it's really probably kind of hard to tell where it's at, but just do your best to try to find it. Slip stitch, and then we'll tie that off. Now, the number of stitches you have around isn't important. I mean, it's probably going to be different than mine because we just evenly spaced out the single crochets the best that we could. So my stitch count will probably be different than yours, and that's fine. The only thing that is important is you need to make 2 pieces exactly the same. And when you go around, the important part is that you have the same number of stitches around both pieces. So that's what you need to do. So if your stitch count, I'm not even going to tell you what mine is, but whenever you go around this piece, however many stitches you have, you need to have it around the second piece the same. That way when you sew it up, it sews up the same. So like I said, you need 2 pieces exactly the same. Now we're going to take our 4-ply that I said you needed in the beginning, just a color that kind of matches a little bit of what, you know, matches a little bit with the color, whatever colors that you're using. Now put 1 piece down. I kind of gave mine a little bit of a stretch too. And then the other one on top. And then we're just going to sew them together. Sew them up. So you can start anywhere that you want. You just want to try to make sure your bobbles kind of line up the best as you can. You know, the colors aren't going to be the same, of course. See? But try to keep the rows together if you can. So I'm just going to start up here in the corner. And I got the right side facing me here. And when I flip it over, the right side's facing me here. We'll put our insert later. So just kind of go through a stitch. And a stitch on the other side. I'm going to be working not around, but back and forth. So through that stitch, and then I'm going to go through the next stitch here and the next stitch here. And this is kind of going to be how I sew it up. Gonna try my best to keep my bobble rows lined up, so you just got to keep looking and making sure everything's staying lined up. Well, I already messed up once. Try that again. So here's my bobble row. Here's my bobble row. So I kind of just put my fingers here and then sew these up. If you want to go through them twice, you can, just to make sure they stay together. Move over to the next bobble row. Remember, I'm not working back and forth like over like a whip stitch. I'm kind of just going back and forth. And of course, if you have some of this yarn extra left over, you can always slip stitch it together if you want to. That's fine too. Just whatever gets it sewed together. To my next bobble row here. That's the way I look at it. As long as it gets sewed together, any method works just as good as the next. I sew stuff together many ways. And you don't always have to do things just like me. Whatever is easiest for you. So I'm going to still keep my bobble rows lined up. I'm going to do this all the way around until 3 sides. And when I get 3 sides done, I'll have one side open. And that's when I'll insert the pillow. And then I'll finish sewing it back up. Take a look there. That don't look too bad. You can't even see that 4-ply yarn. I didn't think you would be able to. So I'm going to continue doing this. And I just go one bobble row at a time. Lining both of them up. Sewing it up nice and tight so it don't come undone. Just like that. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to go around this side, the bottom, and the other side, and then I'll meet you when we'll leave this top part open, and then we'll insert the pillow. So I'll meet you when I get my 3 sides sewed up. Okay, I got mine all sewed up except for one side, so I always like to give it a good stretch again. Where we sewed, kind of loosen it up. Stick your hand in there. A little stretch to corners, and now we can put our insert in there, shove her in there. Should fit nicely, and it does, just like that. Now we just continue sewing up the same way that we were. Just sew up the entire insert in there. So I'm just going to grab my yarn again. My 4-ply yarn, or my 4-weight yarn, and my yarn needle, and I will continue to sew up my piece where I left off, sewing the insert in there the same way that we were doing it a while ago, just back and forth until we get her all sewed up. So I'm gonna go finish mine real quick. Okay, once you get it all sewed up, that's it. That's all there is to it. You're finished. You can put it on your couch or do whatever you want with it. Make a couple of them. Make some really cool throw pillows. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget, until next time, have a good day.